Hey everybody, welcome to the Simeon Show, where we're always giving a voice to the people. Now today, I know you're probably looking like, who are these people sitting with me, right? Well, we have Mr. Clifton, we have Norbert, and we have Connie, and these young people are in the cannabis industry. That's right, I said the cannabis industry. You know, it was only a amount of time before I started to talk about it because there's so much talk about it going on in the world now because it's being legalized everywhere. But the one thing, I think there's a misconception of how you can get it legalized or how you can get into the dispensary world and different things like that. And so many people aren't privy to a lot of the information and don't know what's going on. And a lot of African Americans aren't involved in the cannabis world, right? So what I want to do is I want to educate the people a little bit today about what you do, you know, how you do it and what's going on and how we can give people a little more knowledge about the world of cannabis here, not just here in Chicago, but everywhere. People watch the show all the time, but a lot of people, and I'm hearing a lot of conversations about this, and even with myself, I want to know more about it. So we're gonna start, Norbert, right?
Yes.
You're in Washington D.C.
Yes, I am.
And you have a dispensary there, right?
Yes.
So what got you into the world of cannabis?
What got me into the world of cannabis, I was in a pretty bad car accident that left me permanently disabled. I've been through 18 procedures, 5 major surgeries. I was paralyzed from the waist down at one point. I learned how to walk again twice. And it took me about 5 years to recover from those injuries.
Wow.
I was on 5 different opioids and muscle relaxers. I'm a former athlete. I was inducted into the New England Basketball Hall of Fame in 2015.
Yes, sir.
And I don't drink alcohol, so for me to walk around like a zombie wasn't a natural feeling for me.
Right, okay.
And it wasn't productive. So my pain management doctor suggested that I medicate with cannabis. So CBD and THC were the things that helped me transition off of the muscle relaxers and the pain meds.
Okay.
And that's how I got to cannabis. I moved to Washington, D.C. When I got there and I entered the program, prices were extremely high.
Right.
After doing some research, I found out prices were 20% higher in the district than they were in the rest of the country.
Oh, wow.
And there's no copay for insurance. Some patients are disadvantaged. So I took it upon myself to apply for a dispensary license in order to A, bring down prices for patients, and 2, give black men and women an opportunity to work in cannabis.
So everybody, he's talking about how cannabis helped him, it aided and assisted him. He was paralyzed, he couldn't hardly walk, and for everybody, cannabis is weed. You know that, right? Okay. I just like to keep it real. You know, some people, I just want you to know what we're talking about. But we're talking about the advantages of it and how it helps people. And when I think back, it's so funny. You hear jokes growing up about somebody smoking weed because they have glaucoma, because they have problems seeing, because of pain and things like that. And we all just thought it was jokes, but really, the cannabis and the THC and CBD, it's all like medicine, right?
Yes.
So here we go. Now, Clifton and Connie, we can't forget about you. So what is your involvement in the whole the Cannabis Chicago demonstration?
Well, we're huge community activists, and we see the discrepancy in the industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Many black and brown people were basically thrown in jail for this very same industry that other non-blacks are making millions, billions of dollars off of. So we see the advantage of getting in this industry and allowing this industry, opening this industry to those who were disadvantaged,
right.
Those that could not otherwise even touch the stuff without feeling as if they're going to be prosecuted for it. So we don't look at it as hey, we can smoke weed all day, every day, right? Not my thing. But we do look at it as a long-term goal to provide for certain communities that otherwise would not have the opportunity or the advantage in, becoming or getting into this industry.
Yeah, as you know, Connie and I have been working in the community for a number of years to bring job skills.
And so Connie and Clifton are huge in the community, and one of the ways we connected was because everyone knows I'm a mentor and a motivational speaker, and I used to be a teacher, and I still work in the education world, and that's how Clifton and I met, because of through the robotics team, and Connie through the family of the school, and they're heavily involved. You guys are heavily involved in making sure that the youth, not only just the youth, but people in general, are educated and informed on different things and different opportunities that they have before them.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that you might not know is I also work with an organization that's working to eliminate gender violence.
Oh, right? I didn't know that.
And Norbert contacted us about coming to Chicago and being part of what he wants to bring to the city. And the first thing we said to Norbert is this: we said, first, we've got to work in the business. We've got to learn the business. We've got to be right. And he said, okay. Then we said to Norbert, what's going to be very important to us is that we hire from the community.
Yes.
We expect everybody who becomes part of this business, and it's going to be more than just a dispensary. We're looking at dispensary, we're looking at cultivation, logistics, transportation, we're looking at infusion, which is manufacturing. We expect everybody to leave their business. We want everybody to leave that business better than how they came in, better skilled, better prepared to contribute. And Norbert said, okay. And he hasn't stopped us, so that's what brought us here.
So here we go. So we're sitting here in Chicago. Norbert came from DC. He's in DC where he started his cannabis dispensary, and now we're here in Chicago. And so I have to get me some knowledge too. So by me knowing you guys, I'm privy to information, so I'm going to be on it. But now, people, we're talking about. I'm looking at some of the notes and stats that they have. You're talking about the political agendas, which include coloring cannabis, which is limited customer service experience, insufficient long-term funding, pressured for short-term flip sale. Now, what is that?
So Illinois, Norbert's probably more of an expert than any of us. Illinois is unique in all of the states that have legalized cannabis, in that it made its focus about bringing social equity to the communities. Our governor highlighted issues around violence in the community, and our legislators saw this as a way to pull violence associated with the illegal trade of cannabis into the sunlight and take that out of our communities. So we looked at, in my early life, was working as a strategist for multinational corporations.
You scared me for a minute there. He's like, in my early life, I was a weed dealer. No, I'm just
yeah, going back that early.
I'm from the west side of Chicago. Everybody knows where I'm from, so I've seen it all, I've heard it all. Thank God my mother kept me out of it, but it was just so funny when you hit that little moment. I was like, what's he about to tell us?
Well, so literally to get comfortable with this, for me, I wanted to look at everyone else that's involved in this community, particularly in Chicago. And we saw a few different kinds of organizations or companies that are in this.
Yes.
A lot of what might surprise you are national chains who have lots of resources and have the ability to check whatever box they need to check in order to win a license, per the law. We saw a lot of, just standing in line and handing in our application. A lot of other people in line were people that are brand new to business.
Right.
We saw in a lot of other states that people were surprised at the resources that are actually going to be required to, take a business from start to, when you first see your dollar. So in looking at those, I asked the question, if social equity is, the primary objective of this new legislation, and some sort of customer experience, the customer service is going to be required to sustain your model.
Mm-hmm.
How do we fit into that? And we actually think we are differentiated, to use a consulting term, but we actually think we're probably better than anybody else out there in terms of having the experience that we need to make the business work, and having the commitment and the experience that we need to actually provide social equity for the community. We're not solely motivated by profit,
Right.
like the national chains who are coming into our community right now.
Right.
And we're not going to be surprised at the challenges that would come for somebody who's brand new to business,
Mm-hmm.
or particularly brand new to this business, like a lot of the new interests that we've seen standing in line for these applications.
Okay.
And keep in mind, when you talk about social equity,
Yes.
that's something they don't have to ask me to do specifically.
Right.
I'm already doing that in Washington, D.C. in my own facility, because that's what is the right thing to do. That's
Right.
what we're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about hiring and mentoring young black and brown
Mm-hmm.
men and women, and when they leave us, they're better off than when they first met us. That's important to us, because what we want to do is give them job skills
Mm-hmm.
and abilities, so when they leave here, they can open their own facility, their own dispensary, or if they open their own transport company, or if they want to do processing, they can
Right.
do that. We give them opportunities to do that and learn those skills, and that's important, because, and this is the reason why the social equity piece is important as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these states, they put up fronts.
Right.
These multi-state operators, white multi-state operators come in and they get a black or a brown person, they use that as a front when they're
Right.
really the owner. And what happens is they're given a license.
Okay.
And when we talk about the generational wealth gap between black and brown people and white people,
Mm-hmm.
and how wide that gap is, when the state doesn't uphold the social equity portions of this application, that gap goes wider,
Wider.
because the white population actually gets the contract.
Wow.
And we lose out in the cannabis industry, like we lost out in .com industry,
Yes.
like we lost out on cable television industry. And I'm here to try to make sure that we don't lose out on this industry. So I'm trying to do my part as much as I can to educate these folks and give them job skills to go and give them the ability to go and move on and do other things.
Norbert, thank you for that. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and then I want you to tell us some of the things that you're going to help do, and some of the services you guys are going to provide to help bridge those gaps and close those gaps and make it more, I want to say, affordable and feasible and doable for people of color and other people like minorities trying to get into the cannabis world and start their own dispensary, or just even get some of this money, as I would call it, for lack of better terms, in the business, okay? So you guys are watching the Simeon Henderson Show, where we're giving a voice to the people, and I know you guys are loving this show today because everybody wants to know what's up with this whole cannabis situation. It's been legalized everywhere. People have been locked up about it, but now it's time for us to step up, and it's time for us to get some advantages from this, because we've been held back from it for so long. Big shout out to my executive producer, Jamani Anandi, Jose Perez, Ashley Easley. You're watching the Simeon Henderson Show. We'll be right back. Perfect.